Have you ever thought that something was wrong in your family but could never quite prove it? Do the arguments always circle back to the same place? Do the accusations always end up on the same person? And is that person most of the time you? Maybe the problem is not you. Maybe you are playing a role assigned to you within a system. And that role has a name: the scapegoat. Every family has a system and its own rules. Some patterns settle in slowly, the same arguments, the same accusations, the same anger directed at the same person. It's very hard to see this from the outside, because from within, everything feels normal. Your mother's tone, your father's looks, your siblings' silence. We think this is how it's supposed to be. We confuse normalcy with reality. In a family system, there is a logic that operates beyond individuals. A balance is needed, and to maintain it, chaos has to be managed. So, where does all that tension go? Imagine a family dinner. Everyone is sitting at the table, just talking. But at some point, the tone shifts, and the atmosphere becomes tense. After a while, everyone's attention starts turning toward the same person. Then it comes. You are ruining the mood again. The word again pulls the past into the present and shapes what comes next. So, what does that person do? They usually defend themselves. Either they are silenced or they object more forcefully, and this time they are accused for objecting so forcefully. At some point, usually early on, this person ends up taking on a role the system needs. When we say selected, it may seem like there was intent, but this is not actually a conscious act. Within it, people settle into roles without even realizing it. And sometimes that balance comes at someone's expense. So, how is this person chosen? It's not random. There is a pattern to it. The ones who become the scapegoat are often the ones who react most honestly to what's happening. As strange as it sounds, it actually follows a pattern. For example, when someone in the family makes a mistake, the father always suppresses it with his anger, and the mother defines his behavior as love. What happens if one of the children objects to this situation? The objection clashes with how things work at home and is seen as a threat, and anything that feels like a threat gets shut down. That person is labeled as problematic and is suppressed. After that, the label starts feeding itself. Everyone begins to look at the person labeled as problematic through that lens. Everything they do gets seen through that lens. Their positive behaviors are ignored or approached with suspicion, and anything negative just confirms what everyone already believes. After a while, even that person begins to internalize this label. Some, however, do not internalize this situation because the person sees that is not true, and a kind of resistance forms. This is how the paradox we mentioned earlier emerges. The person declared the system's scapegoat is at the same time the one who sees the system's truth most clearly. They don't buy into the story the family tells. Most of the time, they do this unconsciously. On some level, they can feel that something is off. This makes it even harder to fit in. Not fitting in is treated as a violation. Over time, this solidifies into a pattern. It is claimed that it has always been this way. These kind of labels are used to serve the current narrative. It's less about one person manipulating things, and more about a shared pattern gradually forming. No one may even realize this. They may genuinely believe it. And that's the unsettling part. From the outside, The rest of the family doesn't seem to clash much. The tension passes through a filter, so to speak, and gather at a single point, the designated person. Since there is already tension with that person, everything else just gets directed there too. Everyone thinks that because this person is problematic, the tension is with them. Yet the truth may be the exact opposite. Perhaps that person appears problematic precisely because the tension is always directed there. It's almost impossible to see this form inside the family, because both explanations feel almost the same, and over time, one of them just sticks. There is also a kind of reward system in place. Those who conform to the family system are rewarded. These are generally not material but moral rewards. The status of good child, approval, being seen, these are some of them. The hierarchy within the family distributes these rewards. The scapegoat is systematically deprived of these rewards. It's not just about punishment, it's about control. They cut off the support because you are disrupting the peace. Other siblings may sometimes feel empathy for the scapegoat. They may even secretly think that the scapegoat is right, but openly showing this empathy puts their own position at risk. Silence slowly becomes a form of passive approval. Breaking the silence means stepping out of the reward structure, and this costly choice is generally not preferred, and the scapegoat becomes isolated. So, what does this person do? A few paths can be tried. The first is trying to conform, behaving according to the system's expectations. This path may bring short-term relief, but in the long run, it leads to an identity collapse. The second is escape. The person distances themselves from the family physically or emotionally. The relationship with the family is cut off, or an emotional wall is built. Sometimes this path may even be necessary for survival. However, the system still needs to be understood. Otherwise, a sense of guilt may come along with it. There is also a third path. It begins with first understanding the logic of this system, moving beyond the definition of a bad family or I was treated badly. The mechanism itself must be seen. This way, the things that have been internalized can be re-evaluated. Identity is not a fixed essence, but a real-time construction. An identity built as problematic within a family can take entirely different forms in other contexts. The construction of identity is not an abstract thing. The environment one lives in largely determines the identity that is possible. The same person can construct their identity as a completely different person in a different environment. Both versions are real, but only one is actually you. A person who functions as the scapegoat in a family system notices a strange thing over time. Outside, the relationships they build with people who have no connection to their family are different. There, no such label exists. This also shows that the person is not fundamentally that kind of person. Even realizing this doesn't fully free you, because that label sticks. The cycle of doubt don't really stop. Inside a family, this kind of clarity doesn't come quickly. As long as this pattern continues, the scapegoat doesn't change either, because the structure depends on having a scapegoat. Even if that person leaves, the system looks for someone else to take the role. In some families, this role is passed down through generations. So, how do you step outside of it and actually see it? Instead of thinking, I always cause problems, try this. I was put in the role of the problem. It starts with how you talk to yourself. The way you talk to yourself shapes what you are able to see. Even so, it will take time for the bodily responses to change. If you are truly in the position of the scapegoat, you should know this. You were the one who questioned the system the most. You were the one who objected the most, who made the most noise, and as a result, perhaps the one who was silenced the most. What we call the system isn't abstract, it's just the people in it. So, what about everyone else in the family? Those people don't have to be bad people. Some of them may be dealing with their own pain. Some may also be genuinely well-intentioned, but good intentions alone are not enough. Because the system may also be sustained entirely by well-intentioned people. If you still think you are problematic, you should ask yourself whether this is your own thought or whether it was given to you by the system. Does this sense of guilt coming from within belong to you, or was it given to you by the system? And more importantly, if that voice does not belong to you, do you really have to keep listening to it for the rest of your life?